No excuses. You're not above the law. The ticket slid through the cracked window of a dead sedan, and a little girl in the back seat started to cry. She did not understand what the paper meant. She only understood that her father's hands were shaking. What nobody knew watching from the sidewalk was that the man in the uniform who wrote that ticket would, before sundown, be standing in his own chief's office, voiceless, learning what the badge was actually for. But that moment was still hours away. Right now, only the paper mattered, and the sound of a child's tears. Marcus Hale had been awake since 4. That was nothing new. The second shift at the warehouse did not care about his bedtime, and the alarm clock he kept on the dresser was 15 years old, with a face so scratched the hands looked like ghosts. He had kissed his daughter, Wren, on the forehead while she was still half dreaming, carried her to the car, and driven the 12 miles across town to her elementary school in a sedan that should have been scrapped in 2019. The car was a 2006 Honda Civic with 280 miles on it. The muffler had been replaced 3 times. The driver's side window didn't roll down anymore. The seatbelt clicked only if you held it at exactly the right angle. The windshield had a crack that ran from one corner to the other like a bolt of frozen lightning, and Marcus had not been able to afford to fix it. His ex-wife had died in a hospital bed 3 years ago. The bills from that still came sometimes, late and confused, addressed to a woman who no longer existed. Marcus paid them anyway because he had promised her on a night when she could barely breathe that he would take care of everything that was left. And Wren was everything that was left. They had $42 in checking. He had counted it twice that morning because he always counted it twice. 28 of those dollars were supposed to last until Friday. Gas for the car, milk for the fridge, a small thing for Wren's lunch on Tuesday that she liked better than the school lunch because it was the kind with the little cookie inside. Marcus had been doing the math in his head for 3 days. He was always doing math in his head. It was the only place he had quiet enough to do it. "You're not scared, are you, Bug?" he asked her in the rearview mirror. Wren shook her head. She was 7. She had her mother's stubbornness and her father's habit of looking at the floor when grown-ups talked to her. She said, very quietly, "I'm hungry." "I know, sweetheart. There's a granola bar in your backpack." "I don't want a granola bar. I want the egg one. The egg sandwich. The one from the gas station. $2.99 plus tax." Marcus smiled at her in the mirror even though the math in his chest was already adding it up. "We'll figure it out," he said. "We always do." The dashboard started chirping at him a quarter mile before the engine gave up. A little amber light shaped like an oil can. Then a chime he didn't recognize. Then a noise, low and grinding. That sounded like a coffee grinder full of nickels. The steering wheel began to shake. "No, no, no, no. Not now," Marcus whispered, and tried to give the car more gas. The engine coughed once, twice, and then died completely. The power steering went with it. The car coasted forward with the slow dignity of a thing that had decided it was finished. It rolled to a stop right at the mouth of the intersection of Lincoln Avenue and 7th, half on the crosswalk, half blocking the right-hand turn lane. Cars began honking. A delivery van swerved around them, missing the bumper by inches. A woman in an SUV laid on the horn for what felt like a full minute and shouted something Marcus could not hear but could see, and Wren started to cry. Marcus tried the ignition. Nothing. He tried it again. Nothing. He tried it a third time, and the engine made a small, helpless sound like an apology, and then nothing again. "It's okay, baby," he said. "Daddy's got it. Daddy's got it." He tried to smile. He could not get the smile to work. That was the moment he saw the lights, red and blue, pulsing through the rear window of the dead Civic, turning the inside of the car into a slow-motion siren. The sound came a half-second later. For one beautiful second, Marcus felt his shoulders drop. A police officer. Someone who could help. Someone with authority, and a working vehicle who could push the old Civic out of the intersection before someone rear-ended them. "It's okay, Ren," he said. "The police are here. They're going to help us." The door of the cruiser opened. The boots hit the pavement with a heavy, deliberate thud. And the man who stepped out was not the kind of officer Marcus had been praying for. Officer Brett Callahan was 34. He had been on the force for 9 years. He had a square jaw, a tight uniform, a tin badge that caught the sunlight like a small threat, and the particular posture of a man who had decided years ago that the uniform made him a different species. He walked with his shoulders back and his chin up, and the way he approached the Civic made it clear, even before he opened his mouth, that he had already decided who Marcus Hale was. Tools or no tools. Backup plan or no backup plan. It did not matter. The man behind the cracked windshield was, in Brett Callahan's mental filing system, a problem. A low one. The kind that could be solved by stamping a piece of paper. He walked up to the driver's side window without slowing down and rapped on the glass twice. Hard. With the back of his flashlight. "License and registration," he said. Not hello. Not are you okay. Not can I help you move this out of the intersection. Just license and registration, delivered in a tone that had been tested, in his mind, on a courtroom and had passed. Marcus scrambled. He pulled the glove box open and it fell halfway off its hinges. Papers from years of insurance lapses, expired tags, and a yellowed photograph of his late wife fluttered onto the floor. "Take your time," Callahan said in a way that meant the opposite. "My car just died, officer," Marcus said. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was just trying to get my daughter to school. The engine just gave out on me. Could you possibly help me push it to the shoulder? Just so we're not blocking traffic. Just so we don't get hurt." Callahan did not look at the road. He did not assess the position of the car. He did not look behind him to see if other officers were present. He did not crouch down to speak to the little girl who was still sniffling in the back seat, eyes wide, watching him through the gap between the front seats like she was watching a storm through a window. He looked at the Honda. He looked at it the way a man looks at an insect on a clean countertop. "What is this thing?" he said. "It's a Civic," Marcus said. "It's old." "I know, sir, but it's a junk heap," Callahan said. "This thing doesn't belong on a public road. This thing is a rolling violation. You should not be driving this. You should not be on this road in this thing. Where are you even headed with this thing in this condition?" "School," Marcus said softly. "My daughter's school. Lincoln Elementary. Please, officer. I don't have money for a ticket. I don't even have money for gas this week. If you could just help me push it out of the way, I can call a tow from my brother. I just need license and registration, Callahan said again. Now. Marcus handed him the documents with hands that were not as steady as he wanted them to be. The registration was expired. He had known that. He had not been able to renew it. Callahan looked at the stamp, looked at Marcus, and Marcus watched something small and mean move behind the officer's eyes. This is expired, Callahan said. I know. You're parked in a no-stopping zone, blocking an active intersection, with an unregistered vehicle, an obstructed windshield, an unrestrained or improperly restrained child, and a failure to maintain lane control. Sit tight. He walked back to the cruiser. The printer whirred. You could hear it from inside the Civic. It was a small, mechanical sound, but in the silence of that broken-down car, with a child in the back seat, it sounded like a verdict. Callahan returned with a folded sheet of paper and pushed it through the cracked window. $1, $840, he said. Obstruction of traffic. Parking in a no-stopping zone. Expired registration. Obstructed view. Failure to yield right-of-way. You can contest it in traffic court. Dates on the back. No excuses. You're not above the law. Marcus took the paper. He unfolded it. He read the number. He read it again. He felt the air in the car go thin. Wait, he said. Officer, please. I cannot pay this. I cannot. I have rent due on the 1st. I have a daughter. I just need to get her to school. Please. Please. I'm begging you. Take it up with the court, Callahan said. Don't drive an unsafe vehicle. Don't park where you're not supposed to. Don't break the law. You get to live in this country. You get to follow the rules like everyone else. No excuses. You're not above the law. He tore the citation off the clipboard and tossed the rest on the passenger seat. Then he walked back to his cruiser, the boots thudding on the asphalt in a rhythm Marcus would hear in his sleep for weeks. The cruiser pulled away. The red and blue lights faded down the street. And then there was only Marcus and a piece of paper that worked out to about 44 days of gas money, and a child in the back seat who said, "Very softly, Daddy." Yeah, baby. Why did the policeman make you sad? Marcus did not answer. He was past answering. He sat there for a long time. Cars honked. People swore at him through open windows. A woman in scrubs shouted that her son was in the hospital, and that he had ruined her morning. Marcus took every word of it. He felt he deserved it. He had, after all, blocked an intersection with a junk heap. He had become, for one bright, awful moment, exactly the kind of man that Officer Brett Callahan thought he was. Then, slowly, two people changed everything. A teenager in a hoodie and a woman in a coffee shop apron walked off the curb without speaking, put their hands against the Civic's trunk, and helped Marcus push the dead car across the sidewalk and into the gravel lot of the closed gas station on the corner. It took them 7 minutes. Nobody said a word. When the car was parked, the teenager gave Marcus a thumbs up and disappeared. The woman handed Wren a juice box from her apron pocket and walked away. Marcus sat in the driver's seat and cried for 4 minutes. He cried because he had $42 and a citation for $1, $840. He cried because his daughter had seen him cry. He cried because a stranger had handed her a juice box and walked away. He wiped his face with the heel of his hand And he made a decision. He was not going to court. He was not going to be walked on. He was not going to let a man in a uniform rewrite his life on a piece of paper. "Come on, Bug," he said. He took Wren by the hand. They walked the 7 blocks to the District 4 precinct, the citation folded into Marcus's back pocket, burning like a coal. The precinct smelled like floor wax and burnt coffee. The front desk sergeant, a man named Pettigrew, looked up from a form with the small, irritated patience of someone who had been doing this job for 26 years and had decided to do the absolute minimum of it. "Can I help you?" he said, and not as a question. "I'm here about a ticket," Marcus said. "I was given a citation this morning. I can't pay it. I have a daughter. I'd like to speak to someone about you can take it to traffic court. Appeals are on the back of the citation. Court dates are issued by mail. The police don't have the authority to void a citation once it's written. Have a good day, sir. Please." The officer who wrote it refused to help me move my vehicle. He wrote me a citation for $1,840 when I have $42 in my bank account. My car was broken. I have a child. Please. I just want to talk to someone in charge. Pettigrew looked at him for the first time. He did not look sympathetic. He looked tired. "Every day," he said, "people come in here to complain about citations. We don't have the authority. Take it up with the court." "I can't take it up with the court," Marcus said, and his voice cracked on the word court. Pettigrew did not answer. He went back to his form. It was Wren who did it. Wren, who had been quiet for the entire morning, who had not asked for the egg sandwich in a full block, who had been holding Marcus's hand so tightly her little fingers had gone white, suddenly sat down on the floor of the precinct lobby, in the middle of the path between the front desk and the inner hallway, and began to cry. Not the soft cry from the car. The real one. The kind of cry that comes from the bottom of a person. The kind that rearranges a room. Pettigrew looked up again. 2 officers passing through stopped. An older woman in civilian clothes walked in from the hallway, saw the child on the floor, and gasped. The hallway door opened. And Marcus saw, for the first time, the man whose name was stitched into the door at the end of the corridor. Chief Walter Briggs had been a cop for 31 years. He had been a patrol officer in Houston. He had been a sergeant in Detroit. He had been a lieutenant in 2 towns Marcus had never heard of. He had every kind of case, and every kind of call on his record, and somewhere along the way, the job had not hardened him. It had polished him. He was tall, broad-shouldered and bald, with the soft gray mustache that some men grow when they have decided to look like the grandfather they never had. He stood in his doorway and looked at the man and the little girl on the floor of his lobby, and something in his face rearranged itself. "Get up," he said to no one in particular. He walked into the lobby. He walked past Pettigrew. He crouched down in front of Wren. He did not try to make her smile. He did not try to shush her. He simply said, "Hi there, little one. What's your name?" "Wren," between sobs, said her name. "That's a beautiful name," Briggs said. "I had a daughter once who had a name that beautiful. She was about your age when I started in this job. She used to bring me drawings of police cars. I still have them somewhere. Can you stand up for me?" Wren stood up. Briggs took her hand and looked at Marcus. "Come with me," he said. He led them down the hall into his office. It was clean. There was a folded flag in the corner from his late father's service. There were 3 framed commendations on the wall, but they were not centered. They were hung slightly crooked, the way only a man with no interest in showing them off would hang them. Briggs sat Marcus and Wren down and poured a paper cup of water from the cooler in the corner. "Tell me everything," he said. Marcus told him. All of it. The morning. The engine dying. The intersection. The officer's boots on the pavement. The flashlight on the glass. The way Callahan had looked at the Civic. The help refusal. The citation. The number. $1,840. Wren crying in the back seat. Walking the 7 blocks. Pettigrew at the front desk. Every single word. Briggs did not interrupt. He did not write it down. He did not look impatient. He just listened. When Marcus finished, Briggs said very quietly, "Do you still have the citation?" Marcus pulled it out of his back pocket and put it on the desk. Briggs unfolded it. He read each line. He set it down and looked at Marcus for a long moment. "Please wait here," he said. "Both of you. I'm going to be back in a few minutes." He walked out of his office. He walked to the corner of the precinct where the in-car video terminal sat, the big monitor where supervisors could pull the body cam and dash cam footage of any active officer in the district. He typed in Callahan's badge number. He typed in the timestamp. He pressed play. Marcus could hear the audio faintly through the wall. There was the sputtering Civic. There was Wren crying. There was Marcus's voice saying, "Please, officer, I just need to get my daughter to school." There was Callahan's voice, every word of it, the look away, the scoffing, the citation, the catchphrase. "You're not above the law." Briggs paused the playback. His face did a thing that very few people in his life had ever seen. It hardened. Just for a second. Then it went calm, the way the surface of a lake goes calm right before the storm breaks. He picked up the precinct radio. He keyed it. "4 Adam 12. This is Chief Briggs. Return to the station. No delay. My office. Code 7. Acknowledge. Static." Then Callahan's voice, confident board. 10-4. Chief. En route. Briggs came back into the office. He did not sit. He stood by the window with his hands behind his back, and he looked at the parking lot for 10 minutes. And Marcus could see in his reflection that the man was angry in the particular way men like Briggs get angry when they are not angry at a person. They are angry at what a person is choosing to be. A cruiser pulled in. The door opened. The boots hit the pavement again. That same thud, thud, thud. Only now they were walking toward him, and not toward a stranger. Callahan walked into the office. He had a coffee in his hand. He had a half-eaten breakfast, burrito in the other. He came in smiling. He saw Marcus. The smile froze. "Sit down, Brett," Briggs said. "Chief, I was just sit down." Callahan sat. Briggs closed the door. He walked to his desk. He picked up the citation. He looked at it once. Then he tore it in half. Then he tore the halves in half. Then he tore the quarters in half. The pieces fell onto his desk like confetti. What Callahan said. Briggs turned the monitor around. "Let me show you your morning," he said. Let's watch it together. You and me. He pressed play. The sounds of the morning filled the office. Marcus's voice. Wren's crying. Callahan's voice. The junk heap. The license demand. The citation. When the playback got to the catchphrase, Briggs stopped it. It's not "you're not above the law," Brett, Briggs said. I want to make sure you understand that. It's not "you're not above the law." The law doesn't write the ticket. You do. The law doesn't refuse to help. You do. The law doesn't mock a man for driving the only car he can afford. You did. The law doesn't ignore a 7-year-old girl crying in the back seat. You did. So when you wrote that ticket, you were not the law. You were a man exercising power over another man and using the law as your excuse. Callahan opened his mouth. I'm not done, Briggs said. You're going to look at this man. You're going to look at him in the eye, and you're going to apologize. Chief, with respect, Briggs said, and his voice did not rise. The badge does not mean you are better than anyone on this street. The badge means you have been trusted to be better than you were the day before you put it on. It means to protect and serve. Not to protect and taunt. Not to protect and ticket a single mother of 3 out of her rent because her windshield has a crack in it from the day she couldn't afford to fix it. Not to protect and walk away from a man and a child stranded on a public road. You left them in an intersection. You left them in an intersection, Brett. Anything could have happened. A distracted driver. A truck. Anything. Callahan said nothing. Now, Briggs said, you are going to apologize to this man and his daughter in this room, in front of me. Not to me. Not to the department. To him. He waited. Callahan looked at Marcus. He looked at Wren. He looked at the torn pieces of his own citation on the desk. He looked at the badge on his own chest. He swallowed. Then he said, in a voice that was smaller and younger than the one he had used that morning, I'm sorry. I should have helped you. That was what I was supposed to do. I failed in my duty to you and your daughter today. I'm sorry. He did not smile. He did not shake Marcus's hand. He did not perform it. He meant it in the way a man means a thing when he has just been told, in terms he cannot argue with, exactly what he did. Briggs nodded. He turned to Marcus. The ticket is voided. It's gone. It does not exist. The record is being deleted as we speak. I want you also to know that Officer Callahan will be formally reprimanded, will lose 3 days of pay, and will be reassigned for 30 days to community outreach with the school liaison program. He will be driving a 4th grader to school every morning for the next month. Together. You and I are going to walk out to that gas station right now, and I am going to call a tow truck on the department's dime to get your car to a mechanic I trust. Tonight, your car will be running. Marcus could not speak. He shook his head once, then nodded. I can't, Marcus started. You can, Briggs said. You don't do this today. You don't get to do this today. Today, somebody else does this for you. Sit down. Let the men do their jobs, and take your daughter to school. Wren tugged on Briggs's sleeve. He looked down. Yes, little one? You're the good policeman, she said. Briggs's mustache moved. It was the first time anyone on the force had ever seen Walter Briggs laugh so suddenly that they were not sure they had seen it. He crouched down to her level. He said, There are a lot of good policemen. I'm just one of them. And your daddy is a good man. You remember that. Okay? Okay. Good. He stood up, grabbed his coat. He looked at Marcus. Come on, he said. I've got a tow truck to call, and you've got a little girl who's going to be very late for school. Let's get her there before lunch. Marcus stood up. He looked at Callahan, who was still sitting in the chair, looking at the floor. Marcus did not say a word to him. He did not need to. He had learned, on a cold morning, in a broken Civic, that some apologies do not need words. Some apologies are the silence afterward. They walked out of the precinct. Briggs called the tow truck on his cell phone while they stood in the parking lot. Wren held his hand in one of hers and Marcus's hand in the other, and the three of them waited in the sun for the tow truck like a strange small family. The tow truck arrived in 11 minutes. The driver loaded the Civic. Briggs gave him the address of his own personal mechanic, a man he had known for 20 years, and told him the bill went to the precinct fund. Briggs turned to Marcus. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded $20 bill. He put it into Marcus's hand without looking at him, the way men do it when they don't want to make it a moment. Get the girl her egg sandwich, he said. Get to school. And Marcus? Yeah? There are more of us than there are of him. Marcus nodded. He tucked Wren under his arm. They walked to the corner store 2 blocks away. They bought the egg sandwich. They sat on the curb, outside the elementary school, and Wren ate her sandwich with the little cookie still inside it, the wrapper tucked into her pocket for later, and she did not cry again until the principal came out to ask if Marcus was okay, and Marcus told him calmly that his daughter had had a long morning, that her car had broken down, that she had been brave, and that she had decided, all on her own, that some police officers were still good people. The principal looked at Wren. Wren looked at him with her mother's eyes. She decided right, the principal said. Marcus smiled. It was the first time his smile worked all day. He walked his daughter into school. He kissed the top of her head. He watched her disappear down the hallway with her backpack bouncing. He stood in the lobby for a long moment alone, listening to the bell ring. Then he took out his phone. He opened the Notes app. He wrote 3 sentences. The badge is supposed to mean to protect and serve. Some of them still mean it. And him, the broken-down father, with the junk heap car and $42 in checking, with a daughter who had cried in a back seat and a piece of paper that was no longer sitting in his pocket, had been reminded in a single morning that the world is not always the worst thing it appears to be. It is very often the opposite. If this story moved you, leave a comment with the moment that hit you the hardest. Share it with someone who still believes the badge is supposed to mean something. And subscribe, because stories like this one are why we make this channel. We'll see you in the next one.